Goosebumps is rated GB7 because it may be too spooky for children under 7.
When I was a kid in the 90s, there really was nothing like the Goosebumps books. Everyone I knew had them, and the craze became so great that at one point the books actually got banned from my school because it was all the kids would read. Not surprisingly, Goosebumps is actually the second best-selling book franchise in the world, trailing only behind the juggernaut that is the Harry Potter series. With the success of the books came talk of a TV show, and on October 27th, 1995, or the 28th in Canada, The Haunted Mask and Goosebumps would make its television debut. And since it's Halloween season, we're gonna take a look at what I think is the best episode in this series, and the episode that for us kids was a pretty big event. I mean, we had been devouring the books and could not wait to see just what would happen when these stories were brought to our televisions. The Haunted Mask is about young Carly Beth, a girl who seems to be afraid of just about everything, including her own shadow. But after being fed up of bullies Chuck and Steve scaring her, she decides to get her revenge on Halloween night when she finds herself one of the scariest masks she's ever seen. However, unbeknownst to her, the mask carries with it a terrifying curse.
Ooh, that's bad.
But it comes with a free Frogut.
That's good.
Just days before Halloween, Carly Beth and her friend Sabrina are out looking for pumpkins when they notice a new novelty shop that sells some pretty creepy masks. I wish I had a nearby pumpkin patch I could just take pumpkins from. No, I have to go to the store and pay like $5 a piece. Also, why are two young girls allowed to go out late night to pick out pumpkins? Oh, that Chuck and Steve. But how did they know Carly Beth would be out late night looking for pumpkins? And how long were they waiting there for her? Sabrina tries to calm Carly Beth, claiming she would never set her up. But I think that's exactly what happened.
Everyone knows you're afraid of everything.
Yeah, Carly Beth, I think you need to grow a pair. Oh, who's this creepy old man watching these young girls? Carly Beth gets home and even her mother jump scares her.
No, it's your eyes. You look...
It's nothing. Don't worry about it, okay, Mom?
Her mother grew up in the 70s. She knows exactly what's going on with her eyes. This might be the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. Her mom made a bust of her in art class, but why does it have to be so damn creepy? You know, the last time a piece of artwork smirked at someone, it led to the Statue of Liberty smashing open a museum. Oh my god, not a duck! Carly Beth is such a scaredy cat that even her brother wearing her duck costume is somehow terrifying. What 10 or 12-year-old wants to dress as a duck anyways? This black and orange sandwich is kind of awesome. The next day at school, Chuck and Steve have to torment Carly Beth even further. Although having gone through this awkward phase myself, I'd say one of them probably has a crush on her.
Oh, it's a worm!
Relax, it's just a worm. I ate one of those as a kid when my dad took me fishing and I turned out just fine. Carly Beth is so tired of being scared that she takes it out on her duck costume. The duck costume that her mother spent all day making, the ungrateful brat. She takes the allowance she's saved up, which is a hefty $30, and goes to the novelty shop so she can get a really scary mask.
I'd like to buy a mask for Halloween, please.
We're closed.
If you're closed, then why was the front door open? And it's literally Halloween. I doubt after today you're gonna get very many sales. Carly Beth is given 5 minutes to look for a mask. But oh, what's in this back room? Why does a mask shop need a chemistry set? Ooh, nice Cenobite masks. The shopkeeper gets a bit upset with Carly Beth because she's not supposed to be back here. These masks are far too scary. But as soon as Carly Beth says she needs a scary mask for revenge, he's like, "Revenge, you say?"
Here's your money!
Well, golly gee, 30 Canada bucks? Does it count as theft if you throw the money at them? Sorry miss, all thefts are final. Carly Beth tries on her new mask, and it definitely seems to work. Her little brother won't try to mess with her again, but uh-oh, the mask won't come off. Oh, never mind, it does.
Whoa, Carly Beth, you are scary.
Ah, I see the mask comes with its own vacuum forming and Michael Myers vision. The only thing scarier than her mask is that damn plaster head her mom made. Carly Beth runs around her neighborhood terrorizing the other kids, especially these two who she thinks are Chuck and Steve. Carly Beth meets up with Sabrina for a little trick-or-treating, but Sabrina gets weirded out over her mask because it feels like a real skin.
Gotcha. Should have seen your face, it was the best.
Why is Sabrina being such a stick in the mud? She went on about Carly Beth being afraid of everything, but now that she's not, oh, it's an issue, I guess. The girls go to one house and Carly Beth does her best to scare the hell out of the two kids. The mother is all, how dare you scare them? But lady, it's Halloween. Everyone is entitled to one good scare.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's okay. Carly Beth shows her by taking a small handful of candy, then throwing it.
She looked at that old bag's face.
Carly Beth, that old bag said she's calling the cops on you.
This woman is an old bag? God, I feel old. Sabrina is getting worried about Carly Beth, but she says it's not her, it's the mask. I'm gonna try that next time I rob a convenience store. It wasn't me, officer, it was the spooky mask. Meanwhile, Chuck and Steve are hanging out at the spooky cemetery, which is just asking for trouble on Halloween. If Carly Beth even thought of touching my Halloween decorations, I'd punt her across the yard. Carly Beth makes it to the cemetery and can finally get her revenge on Chuck and Steve.
This is Carly Beth's head.
Oh, man.
Carly Beth threatens the boys, telling them to apologize for everything they did to her. But why are they so scared? It's a silly ass mask. They still know it's Carly Beth behind it.
We only did it because we liked her.
And it's not how you show someone you like her.
See, I knew it was a little schoolyard crush. Although the worm thing may have been a bit much.
Help me.
Alright, now this is scary. Well, Carly Beth got what she wanted, I guess, but we can't have no talking heads ruining her fun. Carly Beth meets up with Sabrina, but when it comes time to take her mask off, well, would you look at that? It won't come off again. It's actually even worse than that, because there's no line between the mask and her skin. Something the new Hellboy movie could have learned when doing their makeup. Carly Beth is literally becoming the mask, so it's back to the novelty shop she goes.
I cannot remove the mask.
What do you mean you can't?
Maybe you should have listened to the man before you took it and ran. What's interesting is the mask isn't a mask, it's a face. But what kind of face looks like this? This old guy claims the faces were once beautiful, but over time began to decay and turn into these monstrosities. He tells her because she took the mask off once before, that in order to take it off a second time, only a symbol of love will remove it. But that's so damn vague, it could mean literally anything.
I was the man who created these faces, Carly Beth.
This old guy made these masks because he hated who he was on the inside, and that hate festered inside and turned them into what they became. But Carly Beth never hated who she was. She just wanted to get revenge on a couple boys who have a crush on her. The old man's current face is apparently a mask as well, and is slowly beginning to rot like the others. So what he really looks like is a mystery to anyone. But, and I don't want to be a jerk, he said the masks were beautiful, and I don't think he's gonna win any beauty contest with this one.
What's happening? What are they doing?
When did this children's show suddenly become nightmare fuel? The masks want Carly Beth to join them, whatever the hell that means. Do they want her face to sit on a pole along with them? At this point, it would just be the haunted mask again. Carly Beth runs back to the cemetery where she buried her porcelain head, because that counts as a symbol of love, I guess.
This is Carly Beth. I am Carly Beth. This is me.
The head is so terrifying that it even scares the haunted masks away. And now she's just suddenly able to take her mask off again. Carly Beth gets back home and she is so happy to see her mom. But hey, what did she do with the mask?
Trick or treat.
Oh no, here we go again. The haunted mask is a lot of fun. I mean, it's different seeing it through the eyes of an adult, but watching it again after all these years brings me back to a much better time. Goosebumps is definitely a sillier show when compared to something like Are You Afraid of the Dark, and its theme is a bit more tongue-in-cheek, which makes sense considering R.L. Stine never really saw himself as a horror writer and he preferred comedy. The masks throughout are all really well done, and they definitely didn't skimp on the makeup effects. I still think the shot of the masks floating is genuinely creepy, and the fact they are real and not just CGI I think adds to it. If they were just computer generated, I don't think it would have the same effect. This episode was always my favorite, not just because it was genuinely good, but also because it takes place on Halloween. You put anything on Halloween, and it will always get bonus points from me. The original idea for the story came from R.L. Stein's own son, who one year for Halloween wanted to go trick-or-treating as Frankenstein's monster, only for the masks to get stuck on his head. R.L. Stein even incorporated the duck costume in the episode from his own childhood, as it was the costume his parents picked out for him when he was a kid. The Goosebumps TV series was picked up without even having a pilot episode, which was not the norm. But executives were clamoring for it as they saw great potential in the property. And it's a good thing they did, because even though there were only roughly 10 books around the time The Haunted Mask began filming, sales were starting to take off. During the filming of the first episode, the books were selling around 1 million a month, and by the time the show started airing, they were selling as many as 5 million a month. Catherine Long, who played Carly Beth, auditioned against a ton of girls. She was given callback after callback until eventually she was given the part. Catherine really didn't know much about Goosebumps or the magnitude of just how big it was, but once she got the part, she started reading the books. For the night of the premiere, her mother was going to invite people over from her school, but when nearly the entire school wanted to come over, Catherine finally realized just how big the whole thing was. It only got crazier for her after the VHS released because she could not go anywhere for a couple years without being mobbed by kids that wanted to meet her. The director, Timothy Bond, even had to unlist his phone number because he was getting bombarded with calls from little boys who wanted to speak to Catherine. For the creation of the mask, Catherine's face was covered in plaster, with only 2 straws used so she could breathe. They made a cast of her face so they could build the mask around it and make it form-fitting. This was the first time she had done anything like this, and even though the experience was fine for the most part, at one point she couldn't see or hear anything, and a little bit of panic began to set in. The process of putting the mask on took around 2 to 3 hours, and oftentimes she would have to eat or drink while still wearing it. The worst part was having to remove the glue from around her eyes after filming. Catherine claims there were even times she would be removing the glue at like 6 in the morning after spending all night filming. Despite how uncomfortable everything was, she was a pro. Originally, Catherine's voice was going to be dubbed over while she was wearing the mask, but she told them she could do it. Everything was shot live on camera, and according to her, nothing was added after the fact or changed with computers. Doing her little monster voice did put a bit of strain on her vocal cords, but nothing she couldn't handle. Catherine also bit into an actual worm when filming the sandwich scene. A plastic worm was originally going to be used, but Catherine told them if it was a fake worm, it wouldn't make her gag, so they gave her a real one and said have at it. The scene took 12 takes to get right, but hey, it was her choice. When the first cut of The Haunted Mask came back, it was actually deemed to be too scary. They had to tone things down a bit because they knew they would be having young kids watching. There exists an alternate ending that apparently was too scary that the entire thing was shelved in a vault and has never seen the light of day. Apparently, Catherine's performance was so convincing in this version of the ending that Fox felt it was too much and had it pulled. All these years later though, I don't know why they don't show it. It would be interesting to see what they considered to be too scary. When The Haunted Mask finally aired, it had close to 8 million viewers in the United States and another 3 million in Canada, which put it ahead of most, if not all, Canadian programming during its time slot. The following year, the VHS would release and would sell 3 million copies and become the 75th best-selling tape of 1996. I never owned it, but my cousins did, and we would watch it over and over again on repeat. The Haunted Mask would have a sequel the following year with The Haunted Mask 2, which picks up the following year with one of Carly Beth's pranksters, Steve, now donning a different haunted mask. There was also The Haunted Mask 2, the book that the episode was based off, a third Haunted Mask book called The Haunted Mask Lives, which was supposed to be part of a new Goosebumps series called Goosebumps Gold. Though the series never got off the ground, a mock cover created by Tim Jacobus does exist. In 2008, an actual Haunted Mask book came out as part of the Goosebumps Horrorland series called The Scream of the Haunted Mask, which I guess is an alternate timeline or something, as it takes place the year after the original book and places Carly Beth back as the main character of the story. In 2012, there was yet another Haunted Mask story called Goosebumps Most Wanted: The Haunted Mask, and this one looks to be a standalone origin tale for the mask and the first Haunted Mask story not to feature Carly Beth. The success of the Haunted Mask book and episode spawned a ton of merchandise. From action figures and bicycle headlights to replica masks and boxer briefs of all things. The Haunted Mask even made a cameo appearance in an episode of The X-Files one time. Alright, so maybe that wasn't the Haunted Mask. The Haunted Mask is definitely a nostalgia trip, which is a lot of fun to laugh at now that I'm much older. But it's a great introduction for kids if you want to get them interested into horror. And there's nothing wrong with kids enjoying horror. But with all that said, what do you think of the Haunted Mask? Did you watch it when it first aired? Were you scared, or did you just enjoy the fun Halloween vibes? Let me know, because I can't wait to read what you have to say. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed our little look at the Haunted Mask, and stay spooky.
Friday, Fox presents a Halloween special
I need a really scary mask, like that one.
based on the bestsellers of R.L. Stine.
I can't get it off me.
Goosebumps, The Haunted Mask.
His face is your face now.
Friday at 8, 7 Central on Fox.